Okay, this is what legacy did ancient Greece have on future civilizations. I was not able to record myself on my computer, so I have my phone here. And this is my notes. I will be kind of bullet point. Can you see them? There you go. Was not able to print them out. I won't be reading script by script. I will be bullet pointing, just, going off the top of my head. Anyways, the first topic we're going to cover here is government. I bullet pointed democracy and jury. They pretty much came up with democracy, and obviously it has a lasting impact today. Obviously, there's tons of democratic people around, but Athens was the first place to try out democracy, and they did it in which, or it's a system where obviously where citizens could vote on laws and take part in civic life, and it was a big shift from kingdoms and empires where one king says it, decides, does it, or whatever, it's just up to him. Athens, I should say, also came up with majority rule, which I think we all know what that is, and trial by jury, which just regular people, regular civilians get to assist on cases, I guess. They became the foundation for many governments, obviously including the US. They also believe that power shouldn't be concentrated in just one person's hand. They divided government up into different responsibilities, later influencing the three branches that we have now: judicial, executive, and legislative. Democracies rely on that. And philosophers like Plato and Aristotle pushed political thought even further, and they asked questions about justice, fairness, and what it means to be a good, law-abiding citizen. Sorry, I'm thirsty. And they promoted citizen involvement, emphasizing the rule of law, and pretty much they left a bunch of principles behind. Principles behind or like setting the stone of modern society today. And I'll do sports. I highlighted here greater goal. I'll get into that in a second. And the 4 Panhellenic Games. To list some right now, the 4 Panhellenic Games were Olympic, Pythian, Nemean, and Isthmian. I don't know if I'm saying those right, but I did try. Here also in the pictures I have, this is illustrations of sports on a pot, it seems like, and then also just a illustration of what I guess they thought it would be. So they were celebrated across ancient Greece. There was more, but these are the 4 big ones. And pretty much they had deep religious ties. The most famous of the 4, obviously, being the Olympic Games, which started in 776 BCE in Olympia, and it was in honor of Zeus, so it did have religious ties there too. And it featured wrestling. Pretty much it kind of set the foundation again, because the Greeks loved spectacle. So it's kind of like a thing right now, like where you see, for some people, the Super Bowl is the biggest day of the year because it's such a sight to see or whatever, right? Next, they praised strength and skill, but also now we see it kind of evolving in a strategy and creativity in sports and stuff. Sports pretty much push people to improve at something, I guess, and it's also a benefit physically. Working as a team, overcoming challenges, the basic stuff. And let me go back actually to ancient Greece. It was more of cultural and religious festivals. There was also performances by, poets and musicians and stuff. Kind of doubt the poets part, but I get the musicians, I guess. And it got revived in 1896. So the modern Olympics, got revived in 1896. That's why we still have it today. It did not stay around this long. It got revived. And pretty much it pushes the idea, and why I put greater goal here is because it's just bigger than sports. It's about unity as a whole of humanity, right? Unity, fairness, peace, I guess you could say, is the main message. Next, philosophers and leaders. I will just briefly kind of go over, I have 6 listed here: Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Alexander the Great, Pythagoras, and Hippocrates, I think you say his name. Um, I'll just kind of go over what they did because they had a huge effect on society today. Socrates obviously is probably one of the biggest name, probably the biggest name of, ancient Greece philosophers. I mentioned earlier, or did I? Okay, I've done many rehearsals, sorry. He spent his life seeking truth through questioning, bottom line, and developed the Socratic method. I think I went into that. My brain is mush. We all know what that is. Next, I'll get into Plato because I think I want to say he was one of his students. Yes, sorry, that is his student actually. He was born around 427 BCE and was a major figure in Western philosophy. Prolific writer, with his most famous work being The Republic, and it has, in that book, it has ideas that influenced the U.S. founding fathers. I'll keep it brief. To transition onto Aristotle, oh my goodness, I forgot to display the visuals. There's Hippocrates, there's Alexander the Great on the right. To transition, he was also the teacher of Aristotle. So Aristotle, one of history's greatest thinkers, he wrote about politics, psychology, ethics, aesthetics, and he wrote so he had around 200 works, and I want to say it's 31. I wrote 31 which still have survived today. And he studied on morality, soul, in animals. Also tutoring our next person, Alexander the Great, not a philosopher, the first leader on here. I think the only leader on here. Alexander the Great is obviously praised for his for how he extended the empire. At one point, he had the empire from Greece to India. Started leading battles at 18 years old, so he was obviously a big figure. Next, we'll go into Pythagoras. Obviously, we all know the Pythagorean theorem. We all learned that in math, whether we wanted to or not. Hippocrates, labeled as the father of medicine. He pretty much emphasized how important a balanced diet, regular physical activity, exercise, and well, I guess that's about it. I guess that's all I could say for him. Actually, we'll also throw in the Hippocratic Oath. I have to kind of get moving on here. It's already at 8 minutes. Next and lastly is architecture. We have the Doric order, the Ionic order, and the Corinthian order. Here's some visuals right here. I have displayed on top the Lincoln Memorial, and on the bottom the U.S. Capitol, obviously. Big ancient Greece influence right here. Let me go over to my notes here. Okay, I'll keep it simple. I'm already at 8 minutes. We'll go through just each 3. So the Doric order, oldest and simplest, sturdy columns. I guess that's about it. It's about all I remember. The Ionic order, skinnier, slender, more elegant, and I hit right here. I have written down. So it's actually the Temple of Athena Nike. I think Nike. I don't know how to say that, which is an example of that. Lastly, we have the Corinthian order. Kind of pretty much the same in my eyes. And an example of that is the Temple of the Olympian Zeus. And like I mentioned before, here we have the Lincoln Memorial and U.S. Capitol labeled because they were influenced, and many of the buildings today are influenced. I remember actually going to Chicago and seeing the influence in those skyscrapers. These big columns or the slender columns or whatever you want to call them. It looks like ancient Greek work. I think that's about it for my presentation. Thank you.